Hey folks, and welcome back to Weaver's Woodshop. And here we are with part two of a Sugi bond end table with a twist. And by now we know what the twist is. The twist is kind of two twists. It's an epoxy top over top of the Sugi bond end table, and it's also inlaid. Although I don't know if we can really call it inlay, but inlaid Cuban mahogany that is not charred, that is not Sugi bond, adding a contrast on that top. And as you know, it's been giving me a little bit of a fight, a hassle, so to speak, because I took all of this scrap wood and had to mill it up to make this table. And I've got some rounds and squares and rectangles and whatnot. And I wasn't able to plug up all the holes. So when I would pour the epoxy, it found all the little holes and was making a mess. And so anyways, what I'm doing now is I'm building a mold, because my idea is to pour the epoxy in the mold, turn the table upside down, sit it down into the mold, and let the epoxy dry that way to where we can see it, get the same results that I'm looking for. So that's what I'm doing now. I've built the mold. Now I'm spreading the caulking, and then I will, go ahead and push it into, the joints with my finger, and we will go from there. So if you like this kind of stuff, go ahead and hit the subscribe and like and share, and I would really appreciate that. So now it's the next day. I'm going ahead and check and make sure the caulking's dry and everything feels all right. And now I've got the alcohol out. I'm going to go ahead and wipe everything down, make sure it's good and clean and ready to pour the epoxy, because you don't want any dust or dirt or anything in there. And I did let it, like I said, I let it dry overnight, the caulking. I just always do that, even though it's fast drying and all that kind of stuff. And now with my Wise Bond epoxy, they say the mixing time is 3 minutes, so that's what I always do. So here I go. I'm mixing for 3 minutes, and now that I've mixed it, I'm going to go ahead and pour it. One thing you can't see on the video is on the inside of the mold. With this being tabletop epoxy, they say the max thickness that you can pour is 1/4 inch. So I went ahead and marked that on the inside of the mold, because I want to hit that 1/4 inch max. Just because, again, it'll be upside down. I don't really know exactly what to expect with it being upside down, not be able to hit it with the torch and that kind of stuff. So I want to go ahead and get it done and get it taken care of. So I mixed up, I believe, 16 ounces. I poured it down, and I'm going to just about hit that 1/4 inch mark. But as you'll see here in a little bit, I'm going to mix up just a little bit more, because I want to hit that 1/4 inch mark right on. And I go ahead and pour just a little bit more here in just a second. So that's why you'll see me bending down and checking. That's what I'm checking for right there. I'm checking to see how close I am to that mark, and then again I mix up just a little bit more, and I go ahead and pour it in there. And since it's two different batches, I do go ahead with that stir stick once I pour it in there, and I kind of mix it all together just to be safe and make sure I don't get any, funny business between the two different batches that I mixed up. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm pouring in my second batch, and I get right up to that line 1/4 inch, and then we're getting ready to put that table in. And now, even though it'd be too late at this point, I guess I'm double checking, triple checking, quadruple checking to make sure that table is going to fit in the mold. Like I said, it'd be too late by now. I've already poured the epoxy. If it didn't fit, I didn't know what I was going to do. So here I am, placing that table down inside the mold. So now you see what I was talking about with putting that table or that end table down upside down inside of that mold. Originally, I was thinking I needed to, check the spacing and all that kind of stuff, but then as you see what I end up thinking here next, that kind of goes out the window. I mean, it was a great thought, get the spacing right and all that kind of stuff, but the end result, I ended up cutting and sanded and all that kind of stuff. Didn't matter anyways. But if I would have left it flat on the mold, I wouldn't have really had any tabletop, so to speak. So there I am. Hey, look, Mom, I'm using my head. So I used 2 bar clamps or 2 F-style clamps and went ahead and got them fairly tight on that end table and kind of jacked it up a little bit so that epoxy could be a little bit thick on the top of the table, in hopes that it would be, like I said, so it would be a little bit thick on the top and give that appearance that it was deep. It ended up working out pretty good. So that's what I'm doing here. And again, if you enjoy laughing at me and my mistakes, or if you just think this is entertaining and want to see what kind of mistakes I make next, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe. Don't be afraid to share it either. I don't mind. Here I am the next day taking those clamps off, and we're getting ready to see what happened. So some of the epoxy did kind of spill over a little bit as I was moving the end table around, so it made it a little difficult to get those clamps off. Now here I am taking the mold apart, and we're getting ready to see what happens. I'm gonna have to sneak underneath here and take the screws out from underneath as well, and then we'll be ready to start taking that mold apart. And now that I got all the screws out, I use that Tyvek tape on the mold, and I use the mold release, and everything really did just pop out really pretty easy. And here comes the first look at what that epoxy top looks like, over top of everything. There it is right there. Hey, it looks all right even before it gets cleaned up. And here's a picture of what we're looking at right there. Unfortunately, due to disk space on my iPad, I gotta make a part 3, so stay tuned.